All right, I do have 1 o'clock, so I'd like to call the Public Utilities Commission meeting to order. Let the record show all commissioners are in attendance and we have proper quorum. We have last meeting agenda in front of us. We had a chance to review. Questions, concerns? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
Motion moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, so we can approve those meeting minutes. Public comment. Any public comment? All righty. No? We'll let Michelle get seated here.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Public
you're
comment.
fine.
Oh, not a big deal.
Yeah, wow.
Start selling tickets.
I guess so. Improve our financial situation. We are just going through public comment, just to make sure. Is there any public comment? All right, very good. If not, we'll move through there and we'll move on to our consent agenda. Everybody have an opportunity to review consent agenda.
Yes.
Questions, concerns?
I have none.
I have none.
Do not either. If hearing none, or no concerns and no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve that consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. Reports, General Manager report. Questions, concerns on that? Anything to add at all? Mr. Butcher?
I guess the only thing I would add is this morning I did get a copy of the audit, so I did forward that on to the commission this morning.
Yep.
Cone Resnick is, a little behind. It's been a long year for him. So normally that we'd have them do a presentation at the July meeting. That has been scheduled for the August meeting, but we wanted to get the audit out to the commission so you guys knew that we were making progress on that, and then the formal presentation will be next week.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to review it yet, but yeah, I did see that arrive. So I suppose we can make sure we take a look at that here the next month and then hear their presentation next meeting.
Sounds good.
Financials?
Balance sheet. Wow.
Yes. Continuing to get more and more cleaner and cleaner data, so that looks great. Again, next year we should have year-to-year comparisons that'll be better in order and so forth. So yeah, no.
Yeah, next year will make it easier because remember we switched GL codes this year, so we'll start building up that history again.
Yeah, it's outstanding. Again, all those Cassell transitions continue to move forward and get more refined and easier to deal with, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Very easy.
Yeah. It's great to hear. Outstanding. Any other reports? I'm sorry, we didn't have any questions for Jeremy or Scott at all?
This time.
Everything looked there?
No,
Yeah,
looks good.
thank you. As always, thank you for putting your reports together and getting us updates.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. All right, other reports. We have our Simper EV charge reports. Anything to discuss or anything there?
I guess, Mr. Chair, the only thing I would add to that is I did find out that regarding the new home application for SIMPA membership, SIMPA is a finalist, and so they're continuing to work through that process.
Okay, very good.
Well, repeat that.
So New Ulm is looking for a new wholesale power provider. SIMPA submitted a response to the RFP, and SIMPA is a finalist for that. So if, again, there's still a lot of stuff that they're going to work through, but ultimately the question comes down to whether New Ulm would join SIMPA. And that would put SIMPA back at 18 members.
Right.
What time? By the end of the year?
Well,
So
in
like the
terms
rest
of
of the
a
world, we got-
decision, yes. Given the long-term nature of power supply contracts, this would be a post-2030-ish
Yeah.
start.
Okay.
So it would be a few years, that's my recollection. So, no, it's not one of those where it's just like, okay. You know,
Switch.
Yeah, it's just, they're coming to the end of some contracts, and so they're just trying to figure out what their next chapter looks like.
Do they have any generation capability?
Yes, yeah, quite a bit.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I want to say they have 21 meg, somewhere in there. So, good capacity.
Mhm.
That's wonderful.
Don't keep us updated on their response to the RFP. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. On to our regular agenda then. First item is the 2026 bonding discussion.
Yeah, so for that, we have George Iwerks in here. George. Just to introduce it real quick, again, this is part of the electric cap plan that the commission approved, back in 2021. We bonded for phase 1. We have started construction on phase 2, but we're, obviously need resources for that as well. And so George is here to kind of give us an update on the work that he's been doing in terms of making sure our cash flow works.
Yes, thank you, Keith. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. Good to see you again. So in your packet, there's 3 items that I'll briefly address. And Keith and I have been working with, and Keith has probably mentioned this, that we've been working with DGR, with Blair and Andy from DGR on a financial modeling of the system, utilizing your rates, and then projecting when you would need the next round of financing, and then how would that cash flow going forward. So what that's led to then is this meeting, where we're at that point now of getting a calendar put together, because as Keith and Kathy can attest, you've been kind of utilizing your own reserve funds, or you're close to that for some project expenditures, so it's time to get the next round of financing in place. So I'll address these items, and then certainly address any questions you might have. I'll look at, and I apologize, they're kind of loose items here, but the first one I'll just mention is there's a handout for, it says electric revenues at the top. What this is, members, is looking at your coverage for new bonds. And so the first page, it shows the system's cash available for debt service at the top. So we, based upon your depreciation and interest expense, along with the cash available for debt service, we show 1.1 million approximately. And so that factors in, we utilize that with a calculation of your existing debt to come up with what's your coverage. So as you can see, the first column on the bottom shows your 2023 bonds. And then the next column in the middle shows the projected 2026 bonds. How we've got that bond sized is based upon DGR's cash flow. They've recommended a borrowing of $4 million. And so one of the things just to factor in, that would be $4 million net to the utility. There's also a item called the debt service reserve that is typically done on a revenue bond. We're showing that that would be funded with your reserve funds or with your funds on hand. So you wouldn't borrow for that. On the first round of financing in 2023, you built that into the bond issue. So there was not only netting for project costs, but also funding that reserve requirement. So factoring in both bonds then, to the far right, we see the coverage requirement, and that is showing you right around 1.4 times, and that's with both series of bonds factored in. There's a requirement to maintain at least 1.25 times coverage, so you're above that certainly, and as DGR noted, there's likely to be some rate adjustments in the future that might bolster that 1.4 times coverage. So that's an exercise we go through when we sell the electric revenue bonds to investors in the marketplace. They look at a couple things. They look at, do you have a credit rating? And do you have, what kind of security is there for them? Because unlike when the city issues debt, they've got their general obligation pledge, their unlimited pledge to raise taxes. You don't have that with the electric revenue bonds. So the investors commonly look for what's your historical coverage, do you have a debt service reserve requirement, and then again, do you have a bond rating? And working with Keith in 2023 rather, there was the assignment of an A3 bond rating with Moody's Investor Service. So we'll work on that, and I'll walk through that here in a schedule in a couple of minutes. But certainly your bonds would look good on paper again, similar to the 2023 project. So that's just a little review of historical coverage, what an investor would see when they review your bonds. The other item, board, I'll look at here is there's a debt service schedule. It's got the green border at the top. Looks like this if you're looking at the digital version. If you're there, it looks like we are. And so this is just, again, a preliminary bond schedule based upon interest rates in the current bond market, based upon an A3 bond rating. That's the rating that the utility secured back in 2023. I would expect that Moody's would affirm or reassign that same rating. We'll certainly have to go through the same process, but they noted strong cash on hand. You got a good customer base that's slowly growing. So that's some of the positives that went into the rating report last time. Again, this is a preliminary 20-year bond structure. Right now, based upon the current market, we're seeing a true interest cost right around a 4.6%. I took a look back at the 23 bonds, and if I didn't pack it away too far, just give you a little perspective on what those bonds were issued at. The market was a little bit lower back then. You were at about a 4% when those bonds were brought to market. So, but again, we'll try to enhance your bonds further, like we did back in 23. Get that bond rating first, and then you can put bond insurance on top of that, which might draw or drive the interest rate down a little bit lower. So, again, preliminary numbers here, board. On the first page, you just see sources and uses. Again, the uses of funds is that $4 million netting for project costs. And then you can see the larger item there, debt service reserve fund, $387,000. That's again for setting aside the basically 1 year debt service reserve in a rainy day fund. You certainly put that into an interest-bearing account. The purpose of that fund is if there's ever a shortfall, you can dip into that reserve as your first waterfall, if you will, of accessing some funds before you look at a rate adjustment to generate additional revenues. So we show in the sources of funds that you are utilizing your own cash to pay for that. Again, preliminary numbers here, board. Any questions at this point?
No.
Okay, perfect. Finally, I'll just review the preliminary calendar, and this will show us kind of where we go from today. That should be right there in the with the other items in your packet. As you can see, July 22nd, kind of review of the financing, preliminary sources, uses, and the timeline. What we show then, week of August 17th, we'll be sending a bond offering document out to Moody's for that rating review. So we'll be working with Kathy and Keith here shortly on updating the bond official statement. Right at the end of August is kind of the projected timeline for when we would have that bond rating call. Went really well, like I indicated last time in 2023. I expect that the same result. They were impressed with the utility, with your planning documents that you have, your cash on hand, et cetera. Those were certainly some positives. Mid-September, looking at when you would get the rating, and then looking at September 23rd is the date when you folks would meet to approve the bonds. Say we would price those bonds, we would come to you first. You would have a resolution that awards the sale of the bonds, and then later the next day the city council meets and they would have a resolution as well that concurs with your actions. So that's the general timeline, is pricing September 23rd, and then awarding at the city level on September 24th, getting the funds October 22nd. So that's the general timeline, board. Any questions you may have relative to that?
I don't.
Okay. And certainly this is flexible. If you all of a sudden said, hey, we don't have any bills anticipated for a while, we could certainly push that back. We're flexible on timing. We'll work towards this timeline, and then if we hear otherwise, we can make any adjustments.
Perfect.
George, do you require any formal motion by the commission at this time to keep moving forward, or is this, or not?
Well, that's a good question. I apologize, I didn't have anything formally in your packet, but maybe a motion just to accept the report from Northland Securities and work towards the timeline. If you're comfortable with that, board, that just gives us direction to work towards that September 23rd bond pricing date.
Okay.
I just have a comment. If we're working together in the past and now and in the future, and this is a direction that can be altered, as you just stated, why do we need to vote on it? If it can be altered,
He's just looking for okay to keep pursuing.
Yep, keep pursuing along those timelines.
Yeah, I think
It's not
George's
like
intent
we're
wasn't
approving
to,
$4 million
yeah,
right
not
now.
approve this, just approve that you received it and allow us to continue. I think that's what was your intent.
Yeah, certainly, it's providing direction, and Keith and I have already worked on kind of a more engagement type of letter, which we really need at the onset, which precedes this date. This is just more or less accepting the timeline and giving direction for Northland to proceed with staff on preparing the bond official statement.
But you're right, Rick. I mean, it's not necessary.
yeah, I acknowledge that I've received the information, but to be able to alter it, I wouldn't want to rescind or go against something that we voted on today. I mean, our relationship is strong, so I'm not against the vote, but I don't understand why we'd need one.
Just a little bit of assurance for them to know that we've seen their information, we've processed the information, and then we'll pursue on an approximate timeline.
So the motion would look like something we acknowledge that we received the information.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Perfect. Appreciate your time and questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, sir.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is a report from Nick Taylor on matters concerning City Council. Nick?
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I have here copies of the survey results that the city did with the industrial park businesses, and I can disseminate those and field any questions or comments you may have. And then additionally, we met with Connexus and had their presentation, and we can make copies of that available as well if desired. So just let me know on that. Thank you, Keith. I'll wait until you have them in hand. Misunderstanding on my part, not getting that into the agenda ahead of time because that would be more useful with reviewing information, but let me know along the way as you go through if you do have any questions or comments about the survey in general or what comes next. The city has on the agenda to discuss a letter to the board about our concerns or, I guess, disagreement with continuing the pursuit of taking over the service territory, and that was a 4-1 vote.
Okay. Rick, I think we did get some of that information. We got some of the earlier when Keith forwarded to us the survey results a little bit, so we did have a chance to look at those outside of this. So,
Okay.
questions, concerns? We can start.
Rick, want to start?
Well, there's all kinds of questions.
Sure.
So what you just said, Nick, that the vote was 4-1 to do what?
4-1 to continue drafting language to write a letter to the Utility Commission stating the council's disapproval of continuing to pursue the service territory. That's not any actionable item or any legal.
Okay, just wanted
stance.
clarity on that.
Yes.
Is that letter completed today?
No, we're going to meet tomorrow and discuss what is in the agenda packet and then maybe continue from there if there's any other action.
So with the agenda of the city council tomorrow, there is a spot for it to discuss that letter?
Yeah, we haven't drafted it yet. So city staff and the city attorney were working on putting something together for the council to look at.
Do you
and kind of get
anticipate that
feedback.
letter to be done to take action on that tomorrow night?
I don't know that that will happen for a fact. I can't guarantee that, but we'll at least start reviewing it and giving feedback.
Okay. And again, going through all, there's a lot of stuff here.
Mhm.
Why would you think the number one reason is why the city council is so against keeping our utility the way it's been for 100 years, 100 plus years?
I wouldn't want to speak to say the whole council is against keeping the utility the way it is. I would say the survey happened because we were lacking information and things were floating around whether the businesses supported or were against the territory being taken over by PPU. And so my suggestion was to have a survey to see if we can get directly from the businesses what their feedback is on the matter. Because we don't actually have like any standing to stop the utility from pursuing that.
But you're not supporting it either.
And, well, we wanted to see what the result was, and so this result is 12 of, or not 12, but
Yeah.
there were 12 responses, 3 were from the same business. There were 30 businesses contacted, and anytime you send a survey to anybody, you're not getting 100% results.
No, understand.
But there were letters as well provided to the city from businesses saying they don't support this.
Well, I mean, do we have all the information?
Well, that's also part of why we start doing a survey.
But we don't have all the information. We don't know what Connexus wants for us to take over the industrial park. We don't know the dollar amount.
Right, and we
So we don't have
also-
all the information. So your survey, even in your survey, most of the customers are even asking, we don't have all the information.
Yeah, and we
So
also can't necessarily get 100% of the information from Connexus or the utility while there are negotiations going on.
That's right. So
Right.
why is the city so against us pursuing this? I mean, are you not proud of us?
It's
Are
not
you
that we're not proud of you. I would say it's that we don't have the standing that we have businesses coming forward saying we really desire.
Yeah, but they
this.
don't have all the information, just like we don't.
None of the parties do. It's a negotiation. And I think as a board, we've discussed, until we have the information, we don't know what the numbers look like. So, and I know Connexus has been meeting with people out there, sharing, information and doing the best they can to kind of defend their service territory, which makes perfect sense, but isn't necessarily aligned with, typical protocols when you're in negotiation with somebody over a service territory. It's, something that we have not done. We've answered questions, we've met with people that have wanted to meet, but it's not appropriate for us to make a sales pitch to try and say this will be in your best interest or this won't, versus Connexus certainly has done that. So any results that the survey might have are going to be somewhat tainted because there's one party doing something and there's another party not doing something in terms of we're in negotiations. It's not necessarily appropriate to share specific numbers, to share even potential outcomes until those negotiations are done. So this information is asking for a position on incomplete information. So,
is there a timeline on when more information may be provided to either the businesses or if the council would desire having that additional information?
Keith better answer that.
well, Keith, I think Kate previously shared that
Yeah,
our last,
At the joint meeting.
our last, it can take 2 to 3 years. There's no, somewhat, we're having a hard time engaging, our attorneys are having a hard time engaging with Connexus. They're not really even starting to even bargain, and negotiate. So, the timeline is likely looking at 2 to 3 to 4, maybe 5 years. It's going to take some time.
Right.
And until we have real numbers sharing, hey, this is what the rates are likely going to look like, it's premature. It's premature. Also on the survey, I'm questioning, I'm not going to ask how it was put together, but my understanding of any survey process, especially if you're going to take data and utilize that data, it takes a lot of work. And usually you want third-party work to come in and make sure your survey doesn't have inherent bias. Was that, what was done to make sure there was no inherent biases that went into the survey?
So we had opportunity to provide feedback on questions that were provided, and so council members were able to provide questions that they would like to have on the survey, and then those conversations could come up. And I expressed concerns about certain questions that inferred an answer just by posing the question.
But that was all done in-house, it wasn't third party?
Yes, this wasn't a third-party survey.
Okay, so with a 4-to-1 vote against the utility, and you have those entities putting together a survey, it absolutely is biased. I mean, without a question, it's biased. You can read most of the questions and not know anything about anything other than this and this and read it, and it's certainly biased. The 4-to-1 vote states it's biased, if those 4 put it together.
Biased in what way?
The way the questions are asked. I mean, it would answer their survey question. If you lose your services and Princeton Public Utilities takes them over, are you going to move? Well, who asks that question? It's a ridiculous question. Even if somebody threats to do that, we still have to do our job. So far, I've seen nothing but stars on this side of the fence stating our service is good, our response time is good, our rates are very competitive, we can show you that time after time. You have no guarantee at all what Connexus is going to serve you. So with that being said, the whole thing to me is negative. And why does Princeton want to lose this entity?
I think that last part may have been a leap to say that we want to lose the public utility. I can understand your concern on the bias of some of the questions. Some of the questions were just general, yes, no, are you provided this service? Would you support a takeover using a different, so going from Connexus to the public utility? aren't necessarily biased questions. I do understand where you're coming from, saying, would you leave? Could, I mean, give an idea in my mind to a business that maybe hadn't thought about it before, so.
Well, question 4, for
Mhm.
example, because I have all the questions right here that the city asked
Mhm.
Conexus. And I'm just, no particular order, but one of the questions were, what is the difference between the AMI that Conexus uses and PUC? I know where that question came from. They're the same AMIs. There's different version updates to that. So if someone is comparing Conexus that they have 3.2
Mhm.
and we have 3.3 or vice versa, it's a mute question. It's a waste of time. And I can go on. Is Conexus going to absorb the electricity for the streetlights? No. Flat out, he said no, didn't even hesitate. I think there's so much that the city council has to really, really concentrate on. If a switch is flipped,
Mhm.
on what experiences that you are going to, in this city, would experience by making that switch. It might be a, oh my gosh, what did we just do? Because there's a lot of internal things that this utility does that I think the city forgets about. Now, please join in.
Yeah, tell me this. So if we go back to the beginning of our annexation question,
Mhm.
a big reason why we did it was to build the utility
Mhm.
and to then broaden the services, create greater scale, which is going to benefit everyone in our community, potentially. Did you consider surveying our community in an unbiased way to see if the ratepayers and our citizens that vote might be interested in gaining bigger scale to the utility, which might, again, it could drop prices for our entire constituency and ratepayers. Did you put any thought towards how an annexation might benefit our community?
Yeah, and I understand where that can come from, and we could have tried to survey the community as well, but then we would need approval from a majority voting on that to get it to go that direction. And so we didn't necessarily get to that point as of yet. What we were responding to was concerns that were expressed to us from business owners within the community.
So you disregarded the entire other, you disregarded the rest of the citizens in the city, only worrying about what the businesses might say, but again, the businesses don't have a complete picture of what's going on.
I wouldn't say that we disregarded the community.
Well, how did you regard them? How did you bring them into the thought process on your vote?
So
Was it discussed as part of your vote?
I think we may be getting a little lost in the weeds in terms of thinking that this is us saying we want to sell the utility.
No, I'm not. This is entirely, all of my questions are entirely directed to your vote, where you're gonna vote more or less asking us to discontinue annexation.
Yeah, as of now, that's what the letter would be focusing on, is with the current information that we have, that we're not supporting continuing pursuing taking
And I'm-
over the service territory.
And I'm questioning whether you have complete information. If you haven't asked, if you're gonna put a survey together and you're gonna ask them, why not ask the rest of the city? Who might benefit?
We could look at surveying the rest of the city. Would you partner in providing more information on how that would benefit the community?
That's just the point, Nick. We think it's premature. We don't have numbers. The negotiations haven't pursued far enough. It's too early.
Mhm.
So no, not at this time. I don't think that makes any sense at this time.
And I-
When it comes time to actually, when it comes time to actually vote on the annexation,
Mhm.
then, and we actually have numbers and the negotiations are complete and we can do proper forecasting on rates and we can put together programs that might benefit the businesses out there, the higher end, the higher usage businesses, to make sure that we're staying competitive and that they don't have increases. But yet we're also going to have a staff that's no more than 1.5 miles away that can get out there on an emergency. There's a lot that we can do, I think, that's a positive that your survey didn't instruct or your survey didn't consider. And again, I'm a little revved up here.
I understand.
I'm a little revved up here
I'm not
because
taking it
again, I think
personally. This is
this
valid.
vote, this information, the manner in which you guys put the questions together, I think is just lacking.
So when you mention a vote coming up as things progress, are you talking about the vote within the utility commission on whether or not to proceed?
Well, whether to
That's-
approve the end negotiations
Yeah.
and complete the
That's the
annexation.
next step.
So what feedback from the community and those businesses do you consider before you do that vote?
Well, right now, we're considering scale, and we're pursuing the annexation because we're pursuing scale, which, if the numbers work out, is gonna provide benefit to the community, and is gonna, it could potentially provide benefit to the businesses.
Would you continue or consider a survey of the community to solicit feedback?
That's surveys. Just
Yeah, I don't know if I would. Again, bringing a third party in to make sure the surveys are done to remove bias
Mhm.
and to be professionally done and be done in a way that really helps us make a good decision is something we would consider.
Okay.
But we would need those pieces in place. We'd need to make sure that the survey is gonna really, we don't want the survey to come back in support of what we're doing if that's what the biases are gonna indicate. Again, that's why, and going back to the survey, my survey class that I took back in college 30 years ago, but removing, if you're gonna have a real survey done, you're gonna survey people, the amount of work that has to go into remove bias is extreme. It takes a lot of hard work, and it usually requires a third party. If you're gonna really put together a strong survey that's gonna give you good, solid results, they're really gonna help you make a good decision, a ton of work should go into it.
I don't want to step on anybody's surveys, but I hate surveys. They're worthless. I think, Keith, if we get to the point where we got numbers, at that point, we can have educational meetings, right, with the members of the thing. That's more one-on-one education, showing the customer out in the industrial park. Here's where we think we're going to be. I think that's how you win them over. Taking a survey, just the only survey that counts is votes. When they elect you guys as council, when you guys nominate us for this thing. The rest of the surveys, I don't know. I mean, you can hear them and stuff, but going out and taking a survey, the only thing I got out of your guys' survey is that 10 companies out there, and there's 30, send you back a survey. 3 of them were the same. And, or was it, no, that was, sorry.
12 eyes.
3 of 12
Yeah.
were the same result.
So you got a third of the people even answering you. And of them, even more of them want more information.
Right.
So you guys are pushing the cart way ahead and telling us to stop doing anything before we got all the information.
So where you mentioned that you can go out in the community and educate, is that after
We get the numbers.
negotiations are done?
Yeah.
But is it before a decision is made?
Before the decision is made.
Okay. I don't,
Right.
like you said, the community
Am
doesn't
I on the
have
right
this
timeline there?
information.
Yeah, it's under the purview of the commission, however you
Yeah.
want to handle it at that point. And that was the process we discussed at the joint meeting, that we needed to, that the commission wanted to complete the negotiations, find out where those numbers were at, and then decide at that point.
Mhm.
And then I surely hope, I thought of the joint meeting and some of the stuff and the liaison, that the city council would get a little bit more behind the utility and be a little bit more proud of it. We have the track record of doing a wonderful competitive rate. We have the track record of service. But you guys just disregarded all of that and you go this direction. That was pretty disappointing.
If I put my business owner hat on too, because I own a business actually in the city limits as well.
Mhm.
And if someone's going to come to me and ask me questions about something, all right, let's just put myself, let's take Steinbecker opinion, let's plop it all in the business part right
Sure.
now. And if I'm being, if I'm getting reasonable service and I'm paying what I feel is reasonable rates from Connexus, and someone's going to come and say, "Do you want to change?" Well, sure. Without information, my first off-the-cuff response could easily be, "Well, I don't know if I want change. What I have right now is working." But if I understand the complete program, and I understand everything that's coming at me, and I have like a lot of information, I have some real numbers to analyze, That's a completely different question than if you're just asking me, well, do you want to change? Well, maybe, well, yeah, anything that's like, and to be honest, for our operations, our electric utility is a small number. It's not that big of a deal. So it's really easy for me to say, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. Probably I'd rather just stay with that. But if you're going to allow a process to go out and to occur, and you're going to start sharing real numbers and real possible rebates that I might be able to, different programs that are possible, then I might actually consider it in a different frame of mind and a different light. To just, what do you think? Do you want to change or not? It's real easy to say, no, I'd rather not change. But it's so early in the process.
Was the process explained to those businesses before it was announced that there was the pursuit of taking over the territory?
Right now, our bigger responsibility is to our ratepayers. And the opportunity to bring scale to our ratepayers matters. There's opportunity lost if we didn't. There's opportunity lost if we didn't pursue this annexation. Again, we have a bunch of ratepayers out there that we're responsible to.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to try and figure out any kind of programming we can put together that might, improve reliability, improve rates, improve service. Anything that we need to consider, we should be considering as a body.
Mm-hmm.
Improve the strength of the community.
Might it have
So
been
if we don't go down this road, it's an opportunity cost.
might it have been a missed opportunity to start engaging with the businesses that would be impacted before pursuing the process?
Again,
Let me
we need
interject
to
here.
see what the numbers are.
But-
It doesn't really, we have interacted a little bit here and there, but again, it's so preliminary. We need to see the numbers. We need to see how everything works out before, because we're in the same thing. It'd be like me receiving an engagement as a business owner on something that's completely preliminary. I'm like, well, this process might take 3 to 4 years. Well, check with me in 3 to 4 years, please.
With all of that said, which I agree with my fellow commissioners on how they stated that, this commission and commissions before that I've served on, and Keith has shared this with the city council, and we all firmly believe it. We grow when the city grows. Where the city goes, we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is kind of an oddity that's even there. So we are simply expanding. When the city grows, we annex. So it's not something new, but we have a legal right statute that says we can do this.
Right.
But yet there's a 4-to-1 vote that says, no, we want Connexus, we don't want you guys. As Tom stated, where's the
Interjecting,
credit?
that's not what the vote said.
Pardon me?
The vote did not say 4-to-1, we want Connexus.
Okay, the
It
vote
said you want
stated
to
to proceed with the letter,
Yes.
etc. Okay, that's the wrong direction to me. It's clearly the wrong direction,
Mhm.
because follow up with that question on do you want Connexus here? I don't know why those 4 would change. I don't know why. They're certainly not saying, whoa, let's slow this down. People on every commission, council has their obligation to be thinking about this blindfolded and get the point across of who are we and what are we doing when this change possibly happens. If this vote, question was brought tomorrow, I think you'd have the same vote, 4-to-1. Maybe you wouldn't vote that way, but I think some maybe would, just because they're hell bent on this against this utility. I just need to get that out, but we have a right to do that.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Nick, but I'm going to. Do you believe in this utility? Do you
Yeah,
believe we can make competitive rates?
That's why I got involved in doing this, is so I could educate myself.
So why ain't the vote 2 to 3?
To write a letter?
Yeah.
Because I believe that the letter made sense at the time, where I'm saying I don't support continuing this process because of the lack of information, because it doesn't feel transparent, understanding that may be how the process works. And I'm still learning about all of that. I understand it's in negotiations. Connexus said during their presentation we did this in response to requests from businesses because this process was engaged. And so I understand why they came to us to do a presentation. I'm just lacking information in terms of where it'll go. I understand you can't necessarily forecast or guarantee that rates will be higher or lower than the competitor. And so based on what information we're receiving of concerned businesses writing letters, even if we threw out the survey results, it should be a concern that the city council takes into consideration. So with what I have right now, yes, I probably would still say, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want that process to continue.
Okay. Well, I
You're
don't
not
think.
comfortable with us moving forward?
Not with the process and the current conversation we're having. In general, do I support the utility and everyone who works here and lives in the community? Yes.
So you still don't believe we should get more information to be better educated to see if it's the right direction to go to take it over or not?
I do agree we need more information, yes.
Okay, so then why give me a letter to say to stop when I'm trying to get you more information?
Because, again, what I was saying earlier, where we didn't even talk to the businesses before approaching the process, even though it's your prerogative, I just think that courtesy might have avoided the current situation that we're in.
All right, well, let's not, you have your survey.
Yes.
And you have what you're gonna do. I think we needed to share some concerns, and I think we've done that, so I don't wanna, I don't wanna
Don't
belabor
make
this.
you feel like you're in a butcher block, but
No, I should be in these situations, and if you don't agree with me, you have every right
Yeah.
to tell me, and I take that back.
Yeah.
And that should or should not impact the decisions that move forward.
Exactly, yeah. And there's a little bit of, city council has to do what the city council has to do. Public Utilities Commission has to do what Public Utilities Commission has to do. We want to be working together. We want to make sure we're sharing information, but we can't always agree. Sometimes we're going to agree to disagree, fair enough. But yeah, I think that we wanted to share some of our concerns, and I think that we've done that, so.
Yeah, my hope is when things like this do come up that we don't agree on, I don't want that to be similar to the past where relationship shatters and maybe we don't collaborate. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
we continue trying to make that work. Like
Yeah, I would say,
said.
yeah, to that end, I think, again, we weren't consulted about the survey. We weren't asked about the survey. I personally have heard nothing from the city council about your concerns with the annexation process. I've heard some anecdotal stuff, but no one's contacted me. Have you been contacted by anybody in the city council about the annexation process?
no.
Have you?
So
Yeah,
we
I mean,
wouldn't
as
contact
commissioners-
you directly, we would
Well,
forward
if you had any concerns, not only did you not contact us, but you conducted an entire process, a survey, and taken a vote against the annexation process with, without even,
Not even having this conversation first.
yeah, not even discussing it in
It's kind of like
our
you're
forum
saying,
here.
you're saying, we did it to the businesses out there, well, you kind of did it to us.
Mr. Manager, did you receive any communications in regard to our approach of a survey and if there was any desired feedback from you or the commission?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I remember at the city council meeting when I was reviewing one of the videos, I believe the mayor said we should ask for the commission's input. And
Mhm.
Councilor Gerald said, why we're not interviewing them, and the conversation ended
Okay.
at that point. So, and I forget which city council meeting that was.
But no email correspondence or?
But I know that I am not aware of conversations in which the city council has reached out to the commission, individual commissioners. I mean, they are your appointees. I would think there should be some communications there. What I'm responsible for is sharing information, and so if I'm giving information, I do forward it on to the commission on a regular basis. I think that's different than having a conversation, which is what I'm hearing the commission be concerned about.
I think the council might be concerned with open meeting law violations if we talk business with multiple commissioners. So I think our understanding was approaching through you. And if that needs to be different, let me know.
Maybe formatted a little bit more specific. Please give us some input please provide some input from the commission through Keith,
Yeah.
saying, we're going to conduct a survey because we have concerns. Do you want to be part of the process? Do you want to have a dual meeting about specifically the annexation before we make these moves? May have been appropriate.
Yeah, I would also say this is why I think the commission has valued you having a liaison. Again, the open meeting law, I think, is because this is a public meeting, it doesn't apply in that case. And as you can see, I think the commission is very interested in engaging.
But a council member can talk to a commissioner anytime they
Correct.
want. I mean, we can't communicate here, but I can communicate to you. And you
Sure.
can communicate to
But
me.
then if I then communicate with Nick, it's a daisy chain.
No, not necessarily. If you talk with Tom and you say, and you advocate for a position, that's fine. And if you call Nick and advocate for a position, that is fine. But if you talk to Tom and he says, okay, here's what I want, and then you go to Nick and say, okay, Tom's on board if you do this, then you're violating open meeting laws because you're facilitating a conversation between the two.
Or again, one of our dual meetings would have been
Michelle
perfect
could jump in, but.
to discuss annexation specifically. It would have been an opportunity, but that's okay. Again, I don't want to. I think you've heard us, and I think that's really all that. I think that's what matters here. So.
And I think you gotta, I mean, we're not mean on this side that we're not doing this, that we don't think it's not right. I mean, but we gotta get more information. And again, I want to impress upon you that the city council does not, in my opinion, view that this utility has the capability to have competitive rates, can service the utility and make the community stronger. And that's tough.
I'm going to have to disagree, because there's 5 of us. I believe there's still one behind me who definitely wouldn't agree with your suggestion that the utility isn't qualified to do things. I don't believe the utility isn't qualified to do things. I can't speak for the other 3, and I shouldn't speak for the one behind me either, so.
Well, as we grow, I think we're proving ourselves with, we're at 4,500, now we're at 5,500 population, and those extra population we serve. Okay, most of them, a lot of them in the city limits. So when these new buildings go up and they're big chunks of population, different meters, all these different, that's a huge increase. It's no different to me when I look at that if you have 30 businesses out there and they have a meter, it's no different than 30 rentals other than the numbers change. We're able to take care of growth. And we maybe should have done this a while ago. But we have been annexing, and this has been talked about for quite a few years. So I don't know what the negativity would be if we can handle it or not, because the wires don't change. Nothing changes. It's the service, the reliability, the action, the quickness that we serve, and we're local hometown, and we have been. And I'm not going to see that change on my watch. But the fact that our responsibility today is much greater than it was 3 years ago. We're growing. We can service that, and our rates have been proven. And Keith has the chart that I just asked for, but we don't have it. But it shows that our competitiveness is right there. So I don't know why anyone would have any concern why that's going to change.
Maybe it would have been helpful in hindsight if we were brought in partnership a little earlier, even though it's your prerogative. Just like you were saying for the survey, if you had been consulted ahead of time, maybe we're inheriting a quagmire right now. And
Hence a liaison.
yeah,
Or a little more definition of one to communicate.
we'll be more considerate.
I mean, I do have to point out that not just with the last joint meeting, but previous joint meetings, we have had this conversation year after year after year, and council continues to say, yeah, okay, let's see what it means, see what it means. This was, that's why this was a little bit of a surprise to us, because we have reached out. You have our packets in your packets, and you see everything that the commission sees. And, you know, when DGR did their analysis and said, okay, yeah, this looks like it's workable, but, you know, let's fine tune this, let's get more information. So that has been provided over the years.
And
The
packets are
progress
public as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because-
DGR, a professional, recommended that we proceed this.
Mhm.
So again, it's hard for us to consider any other option other than to proceed. At least consider the option. Again, we had our professional, you know, our professional expert do the analysis and say, this looks like a good opportunity for the utility.
Mhm.
So our direction isn't just legally right,
Mhm.
but it's been professionally reported to us that we should do it. I don't know what case that I could come up with that says, oh gosh, guys, we shouldn't do this. None, zero.
Okay, well, I think that, again, this discussion, we had discussion, it was good. So, Nick, is there anything else from the city that needs to be updated?
Not currently. Anything else you want me to bring to the meeting?
Just, well, you know, share our discussion if you would. I think that would be the big thing. Yeah. So, that concludes our regular agenda items. We do have a closed
Thanks,
session.
Nick.
What's that? Yeah, thank you, Nick. Yes,
Yep.
always. Thank you for being here. Sorry, you know, we have to share kind of
We're still
where we're at.
friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Still
We
work together.
we thought it was important we share where we were at, so. Alrighty, we do need to consider a closed meeting now. So the agenda item for this meeting to discuss is to discuss the performance review of the general manager. This portion of the properly noticed regular meeting of the Public Utilities Commission will be closed pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05 Subdivision 3A under the Employee Performance Review exception to the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. The purpose of the closed meeting is to not make a decision behind closed doors, but is instead to determine what actions are necessary, if any. The only business to be discussed in this portion of the meeting is the general manager's performance review. I will now entertain a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
I make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Closed session. The commission will now go into a closed session. The time is 1:58. Only the officials and consultants of the commission who reasonably require access to this data may be in attendance at any portion of the meeting for this agenda item. The minutes of this portion of the meeting should reflect only that a meeting was held with its date, time, and location, who was present at the meeting, and the purpose of the meeting. Members of the commission, following the completion of our
I'm sorry,
business.
Mr. Chair, could I just have the time?
The time is 3:05.
Okay.
Members of the commission, following the completion of our business, we will now adjourn into open session, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the closed portion of the meeting and go back into open session.
We just did that.
We just did that. Thank you.
Okay, so now you're in open session.
Now we know open session. We do need a motion I would entertain a motion to approve the step increase that was discussed in our closed session.
I make that motion.
Second.
We don't have to get numbers in here? Okay.
Nope, just
You're
the
gonna
step.
do that by?
Yes. Any further discussion?
Did you vote?
Clarification? What's that?
Did you vote?
We haven't voted yet.
Yeah, we did.
You asked for a motion.
I made a
Second.
motion, you seconded.
And then you clarified that the actual number doesn't include that I provide that number to Kathy.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's just a standard step increase.
yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. I will forward that specific information to Kathy. That said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Opposed?
Thank you, guys.
We are adjourned.
Time?